On tap today, we have a CFP 4C 3-piece suit to size on for the unseen MVPs as the main man Ollie gets the gift of a lifetime from an ever-changing new age Mike Gundy.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily stop for all things cowboy and cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for stopping by to make this your first listen. We're available on all of your podcasting platforms, visually as well on YouTube. Find me personally on X at AllDayOState, as well as Facebook and Instagram, OState All Day. Today, we're partially brought to you by Game Time. Do not miss out on the action and the stress. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Get rocking and rolling today. Download that app. We get to discuss Ollie Gordon in the future that has now been released. Not only his future as a Cowboy and as it pertains to this season, but his future as far as legalities are concerned as well. As most of you are likely already aware of, Mike Gundy has kind of given an unusual pass to Ollie Gordon after receiving officially a criminal misdemeanor that could come with a $500 fine and up to a year in jail. We all know the year in jail thing is not going to happen for somebody who has, up to this point, been extremely squared away and a shining light for how you should be in the community as a student athlete in this NIL era. Thankfully, this is a one-off, and Mike Gundy's treating it as a one-off. But under this criminal misdemeanor, DUI under 21 years of age, transport of open container, failed to maintain a single lane of traffic, and speeding at 15 to 20 miles an hour over. In this whole saga, we have now heard from Ollie, or at least seen what he has had to say. Ollie Gordon released this public apology. I am deeply sorry for the actions that led to my arrest on June 30th. I sincerely apologize to my family, everyone in our program, including players, Coach Mike Gundy, the staff, Oklahoma State University, and our fans. Regardless of the outcome of the pending investigation, I did not uphold the values I have for myself and the values of the Oklahoma State football program. I am committed to learning and growing from this mistake, and I will work to earn back the trust of those who I've disappointed. Well, maybe I don't speak for everybody, Ollie, but on behalf of all of the Cowboys and YouTube and podcast country, and probably 99% of the Orange faithful, we not only accept your apology, as does Mike Gundy, which is why he's made the unprecedented move of allowing Ollie Gordon to play Game 1 right away. And part of this was due to the conversation that Mike Gundy has had, the several conversations he's had with Ollie Gordon. But one of the reasonings behind his decision was simply the fact that one of the conversations he had with Ollie expressed the desire to still attend Big 12 Media Days and represent Oklahoma State. He wanted to get out in front of this. He felt like the fans and the team and the staff deserved for him to get out in front of this. Additionally, the Oklahoma State Media Department is not going to censor any questions or anything for Ollie Gordon. That was another part of the decision-making process for Mike Gundy here. Ollie Gordon does want to embrace the hate as well as embrace the faith that Mike Gundy and Oklahoma State country have in him. Of course, you already know I got the haterade messages today as well, much like likely most of you. I wonder how Cody and Oklahoma State country is going to spin this one today. Well, here's the spin. Historically speaking, Mike Gundy has been a little bit too abrasive when it comes to these exact decisions. And maybe abrasive is not the right word, but the rush to judgment has been quick. Tyreek Hill is one of the ones that come to mind when people say that Mike Gundy's only doing this because he's got to ride the Ollie Gordon coattails and the success of the season, yada, yada, yada. That's not the case. Look at Tyreek Hill, the fastest player in football, the fastest player in the NFL, who electrified the season to the point that he almost single-handedly brought us back to win Bedlam. That Tyreek Hill was proven to be the new king of campus. He made a mistake, and within 12 hours, he was gone, off the team, off the canvas, Get out of here. Mike Gundy was not interested in an exorbitant amount of researching. He understood the story. He understood the lay of the land. And in his thought process, he had to go ASAP. Mike Gundy has a history of kicking players off the team very, very quickly for sometimes seemingly less meaningful or impactful reasons. But then we also find out that it's part of the Cowboy culture for Mike Gundy. If you're missing classes, if you're late to meetings, if you're not going to the health and wellness, nutrition, trainers, and taking care of your body, if you're not logging in the appropriate amount of hours in the film room, if you're not willing to do all of the extra stuff, and then you also pull one of these moves, you're gone. But if you have a squeaky clean record and he can go back and look at your family, your upbringing, what this all means to you, and to connect the dots, knowing that it's likely to be an isolated incident, because thus far it has been an isolated incident. The reports around campus are he is not only extremely uplifting to the entire student body, but that's because he's actually involved in everything. For those who don't know, Ollie Gordon attends literally almost every single basketball game, both women's and men's. He shows up at softball games, baseball games. He'll make an appearance at the tennis center if need be, because Ollie Gordon is more than just here for the money. Ollie Gordon's here for more than just the accolades and the Heisman campaigns. Ollie Gordon's here because he's chasing the greats of Barry and Thurman. And now that he has this negative connotation attached to him, in my opinion, this is the right move by Mike Gundy, and it accentuates even more validity to the fact that this maybe was the necessary evil that needed to happen to lift Oklahoma State to an even higher level this season. Ollie Gordon is going to use this as motivation. Ollie Gordon is going to use this to stay centralized on campus. This is going to be another instance that helps the locker room become even more galvanized than it already was. We know you've got the over 200 starts across the offensive line. You've got over 300 some odd starts just on the offensive side of the ball. That senior leadership is going to afford Ollie Gordon some more opportunities to make the most of this situation. This should be, at the end of the season, the best dark horse Heisman campaign redemption story there ever was. It could be. Now that's up to Ollie Gordon. Thankfully, Ollie Gordon will now get every opportunity available to him because Mike Gundy is making a decision that is somewhat uncharacteristic of Mike Gundy, historically speaking. So for all of the haterade sipping folks out there that are going to come after you, or maybe even watch this, if you go back and look, this is not Mike Gundy's MO. Just like it wasn't Mike Gundy's MO to be involved or welcoming or beneficial to the idea of NIL. But he came around. The CEO approach needed a little bit of an adjustment, as did a new injection of orange Kool-Aid into the Cowboy culture by way of Mike Gundy, which he also provided. So Mike Gundy spent over half of the season, proving people wrong, myself included. I was one of the ones saying him being gone is what is causing so many issues, that he has maybe lost his fastball, that he maybe didn't see the writing on the wall. And he proved me wrong. He proved a lot of people wrong across the country. This is the season of capitalization. And all of this haterade, all of this potential bulletin board material, like the over and the over being 7.5 on the wins, on the idea of us winning the conference title being so laughable across the country, according to some, that stuff is going to provide a decent amount of fuel for the fire this season. If we needed any more fuel, if we had any reservations on escaping complacency, this situation probably resolves all of that. This will be a much more determined Oklahoma State ball club because of this. This will be a much more determined Ollie Gordon because of this, which means he could get less carries on purpose systematically and still equal the same amount of yards, the same yards per carry, and end up in New York at the end of the year. Maybe he doesn't win it. Maybe he's second place, third place, fourth place. But the beginning of this year's Ollie Gordon story has just started. As he takes on the media, we're going to see how he handles it. But he wants this moment. He's not running from it. He's not shying away from it. He's embracing it to the best of his ability. And he's going to flip it into the positive of a lifetime. Because Mike Gundy is obviously adapting and growing and changing. And he's more involved in NIL. He's more involved in every single day-to-day. He's more involved in film, preparation, special team, scout team. I think Mike Gundy found a new love for the game last season. I think him being put up against the wall to some degree allowed him to find a new gear, a gear that I don't know that everybody thought he had. Some of us thought he lost some speed. Some of us thought he'd hit his ceiling, myself included. It doesn't appear as though that's the case. Just like it no longer appears as though he's a hindrance in recruiting in NIL by any stretch of the imagination. And now he is adapting to the new age of college football. You can't run everybody off of campus every time they do something incredibly stupid. We all do stupid stuff. It's not about the dumb stuff we do, though. It's about the redemption after the fact and what we do with it. If it happens again, this was all smoke and mirrors, and this was a problem. If it never happens again, and he continues to be that guiding light that he is in the community of Stillwater, Oklahoma, and beyond, this is the success story of a lifetime that'll be written in the stars next to the Big 12 title trophy we hold at the end of the year. Speaking of holding trophies at the end of the year, or at least being a part of the Cowboys hoisting a trophy. I know words are hard for me. Make sure that you are there at the event to see your team hoist that trophy. In order to do that, you have to download the Game Time app. There's a lot of craziness that goes with getting to events. And mind you, this isn't just sports we're talking about. You can get hooked up with sports, of course, comedy, music, theater, local events near you. It is the authorized ticket marketplace of not only Major League Baseball, but of course, college football, basketball, baseball. It goes on and on and on, as do the last-minute killer deals. With Game Time, you get the ability to see the panoramic view of your seat before you ever show up to the stadium, so you don't have to deal with the craziness of getting the wrong seat, unfortunately. The lowest price guarantee also means Game Time will credit you back 110% of the difference if you find the same row and the same spot for less. Take all the guesswork out of you buying tickets for Major League Baseball, music, comedy, theater, and other events near you. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem that code, LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDCOLLEGE, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Another guarantee on the season is the fact that the defense is going to get overlooked. Now, when you're 141st or whatever in the country and passing defensive metrics, you're going to get underappreciated, and that's okay. More than okay, it seems to be somewhat purposeful, right? The idea that Oklahoma State defense is going to return everybody from the last season, which means it's going to be pretty reminiscent of what happened last season, might happen. But it also might be the right idea for other teams to have as well. This Oklahoma State defense is set to be better. And we know of some of the potential MVPs or the guys that have already been MVPs, like your Nick Martins, leading the conference and being one of the tops in the country in tackles. Like your, Colin Oliver, who can show up as a freshman and then show out again at a completely different position the next year as a sophomore. MVP level stuff. Justin Kirkland came in being able to darn near lift a house. Now he can move mountains on top of it. His area of operation, KISS methodology, is out the window. This year, it means more. He's got to do more, and we're going to see more. So, of course, he's going to be one of the MVPs of down low. Kendall Daniels, the guy in the back end that's going to be roaming and doing much, much more from back there as well. He's, of course, an MVP. But sometimes it's about the unseen MVPs. Let's talk a little bit about some of those guys, like a Trey Rucker. Trey Rucker has had to battle through some adversity, much like what Ollie Gordon is about to go through to some degree, and he's been able to come out on the other side. He also is very well aware that he took a lot of criticism in the last season for getting burnt in coverage deep. That gave him more motivation and an extra gear to find that speed that was coveted from him coming out of high school. Maybe he bulked up a little bit much. Maybe he needed to redeem that speed quality in the offseason. And if he has, in fact, done that, he's going to be one of these unseen MVPs, much like Lyric Rawls. Now, we were so grateful to see what Lyric Rawls could do very, very early on in his Cowboy career. And then he was able to bulk up significantly while being able to still maintain his ability to get east and west, more physical violence is north to south, and then he gets an injury. Battling back through injuries typically will show you who you are inside to varying levels of degree. But Lyric Rawls is a guy that is an unseen MVP. Cam Epps doesn't get talked about enough. Silently sits in the background. He's gotten bigger. He's gotten stronger. He's gotten faster. He's an unseen MVP. We're talking about all of the starts on the offensive side of the ball. If you count up your Justin Kirkland, you're calling Olivers, right? You're calling Clay, another unseen MVP, who's over 315 pounds. Don't move like it, but he absolutely looks like it. The Okie, who made the transition from Arkansas to Stillwater, now has much more to play for. And much like Justin Kirkland, he's going to be asked to do much more as well. Deshaun Brown, we've been waiting on that next tick up in the ability section. If we get it this year, it'll be because he's also been one of the unseen MVPs that's gone about his business pretty silently. Maybe this is the year he beats his chest a little bit and beats all of the tackles, end up in the sack record books. Unseen MVP. And how many starts? Then you got to factor in Kendall Daniels, multiple years now starting at the Big 12 level. Corey Black, over 3 years starting at the Big 12, plus playing a significant amount as a true freshman. On the other side of the ball, Cam Smith has been able to provide more than just depth, more than just structure, but a lot of talent and the 6'3" frame to go with it. Another unseen MVP. So this season, although I expect it to be 2021-esque, maybe not quite 2021 level, but really daggone close because of these type of dudes. Maybe not the dudes that you're always accustomed to, but the guys that make the whole thing pick up to a completely different level. And Obi Ezegbo is going to be another addition that surprises people. The 6'2", 240-pound get from Gannon is going to be much like Tanner McAllister going to Ohio State for Jim Knowles. So we took the KISS method last season for implementation purposes. Now we get to expand on it. Who better to bring in than Obi Ezegbo, who knows precisely what Bryan Nardo is trying to get done in that system, and now he gets to morph it with what Joe Bob Clements brings to the table right next to Coach Hammer, Coach Duffy. Coach Charlie Dickey has been instrumental in making the offensive side of the ball become more physical. Well, the defensive side of the ball is ready for the same thing, and they're ready to make some noise and prove people wrong this season. And it's not just because of the mainstays, the main dudes, the MVPs that we've already seen. It might be because of the unseen MVPs, like a Taiwan Ray or an Ike Essenwoon. From an energy perspective, Ike Essenwoon is precisely who you want to have on your locker room, definitely in a dugout. He's the spark plug that maybe we don't get to see, but everybody on the field does. That's their motivation too, partially due to just those dudes. You're only good as the depth that your scout team can push. The unseen MVPs might be why this D is as good as 2021. and maybe 1984. I mean, throw that one in there too. All right. Part of that D being so good is going to afford us the ability to make the CFP. And where there's smoke, there's fire. If there's one person like Captain Crazy Cody saying we might win the Big 12 and end up in the CFP, that's one thing. If you have a publication coming out, State should be the Big 12 representative, the Big 12 champion, and in the Final Four as a 4 seed, then it makes a little bit more sense, right? Then you have an ember. And you could say Yard Barker was the ember. And then it just continues to get better because Sports Illustrated got in on it. Sports Illustrated had something to say about Oklahoma State's ascension to potentially being one of those dudes. And as we get more great news, there's some deception, if you guys haven't noticed, by the latest roster that's been released. One of the other surprises, other than the deception, and if you're a regular AK regulator on the show, you're going to know precisely what I'm talking about when you see it. All right. But part of the deception is obviously, I would say, purposeful, beneficial, and seeing a Sooner make the transition to Cowboy country, that's always kind of cool to see. As former OU linebacker Brent Duquesne's nephew and safety is now a Cowboy. And on this latest official roster release, listed at 6'1", 200 pounds. Well, his uncle was a linebacker at OU, 6'2", 235 pounds. So maybe there's still some room to grow. Or maybe, just maybe, he's already over 200 pounds. I mean, heck, Mayalake Smith is 185 pounds, according to something. Maybe you tell me. Is Mayalake Smith really 185 pounds? I don't know. But the CFP, they feel the love. We're getting some love. From Yard Barker, Sports Illustrated did a little piece. CBS, they also were discussing Oklahoma State being a 4 seed, as we should be. And most recently, the trifecta. Number 3, Saturday Down South. Now, also another publication that has Oklahoma State as the Big 12 champion and the representative of the 4 seed. So we're getting some respect. The unseen MVPs are partially why. Mike Gundy growing, changing, and adapting with the new landscape of college football and being much more understanding for somebody like an Ollie Gordon. That is something that's very, very seen at the moment, and it's going to be the national scene as it pertains to Oklahoma State for quite some time. But maybe this should be as well. Because CBS, what was his name? Mr. Sally? Another prediction of Oklahoma State making the Final Four as the 4 seed. So whether we're going to watch the first round from home or we're going to play in the first round at home, you let me know down in the comment section which would be your preference. Although being the 4 seed, being top 4, sitting at home, getting a bye, yeah, that's huge. But I selfishly kind of almost want us to end up as like the 5 seed so we can play round 1 on campus in Boone Pickens Stadium. I know I'm partially torn here. So you let me know down in the comment section what you think. Additionally, I got to let y'all know, it's like asking for a date. You don't get it if you don't ask. And I don't enough. Hit the like button, share, comment, subscribe. And my podcasting people out there, you already know what to do. But I need you, somebody out there, to push this one out to X, because thanks to some salty Mizzou fans, I have been temporarily suspended from X. So they can make a bunch of jokes, they can get retweeted, and they can make a lot of fun and laugh about Oklahoma tornado victims, passing away. That's okay. But if you say something about Mizzou fans getting their head stomped into the turf repeatedly, then you're a bad guy. It's okay. Mizzou might be choosing violence, and that might be just enough of okay with me. But until the next one, That's all we're going to have for this year. As always, you know I love you. God bless. Go Pokes. Thank you for tuning in to make this your first listen here on Locked On Oklahoma State. You could be anywhere. So happy you choose to be here. Again, like, share, comment, subscribe. My podcast, and folks, do what you do. Hit the stars. Leave a review. I'm out this mug. Later, Tedders.